After a 105-102 loss to the Portland Trail Blazers, the Milwaukee Bucks have now dropped 4 of their last 5 games. All of those losses to sub 500 teams. So, what in the world is wrong with the Milwaukee Bucks? Going to discuss what's been ailing them, plus some reasons for optimism on the other side of the intro.
You are Locked On Bucks, your daily Milwaukee Bucks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What it do? Welcome to Locked On Bucks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. I'm Camille Davis, and I truly do appreciate you for tuning in and making Locked On Bucks your first listen every single day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast, as well as on YouTube. Plus, you can catch us in newsletter form as well. We have the Locked On Bucks daily newsletter, so head on over to lockedondaily.com to start your day with the free Locked On Bucks newsletter. This episode is also brought to you by FanDuel, because from the biggest upsets to game-winning drives, the NFL playoffs are better with FanDuel. New customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed, win or lose. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. I am running solo on this episode. The everydayers may be aware I've been a little bit under the weather, right? My voice is still kind of coming back. It's not as strong. Justin has come down with a stomach bug of his own. So I said, I'll hold it down. And I had an idea for a different type of show today, integrating some of the clips from the Bucks pressers after that disappointing loss to the Portland Trail Blazers, because I think some of the things that we heard Doc mention, Dame mentioned, Giannis mentioned, even AJ Green mentioned after the game are worth broadcasting and worth discussing. And I mentioned this on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it now, after the Bucks lost that game to the Blazers. Like, it's a long season. And I knew that 2-8 start would not be the only down part of the season for the Bucks. I knew they would have other slumps, but man, they have been disjointed and so disappointing in 4 of those last 5 games. I mentioned in the open, all of those losses came to sub 500 teams. Those losses came to the Nets twice, the Bulls, and now the Blazers. Honestly, one could argue that all 5 of their last games were disappointing. It's just that in that Blazers, or not the Blazers, in the Pacers game, they were able to have that big comeback effort and get the win. So you can argue that the ball overall over their last 5 games just has not been great. And this was a game against the Blazers where it followed a similar script. We saw another slow start for the Bucks in the first quarter, but they found a way to go into the second up by 3. They then lost the second quarter, not by much, but going into halftime with a little deficit. And then the third quarter started looking dark before they were able to come back and pick up some steam to head into the fourth down by 1. Like the third quarter opened, started a new half. Dame comes out, hits a 3. You're like, okay, we might be rolling with something here. And then the Blazers respond with the 12-3 run of their own to stretch their lead to 9. Bucks call a timeout. And then from there, you see the Bucks finding ways to fight back, to get back into the game again. Not as big of a comeback effort needed against the Blazers as what they had to do against the Nets when, they were down and they had a 20-0 run in the fourth quarter to make a comeback, but still not enough for them to put this Blazers team away. A Blazers team that's probably going to be a lottery team, a Blazers team that you can look at on paper like, yo, we know what they're playing for, and they're playing for next season. This is a rebuild year for this team. In fourth quarter, clutch minutes down the stretch, Bucks and Blazers clutch minutes might not have been what you would expect coming into the game. And then you have Giannis hitting 2 clutch free throws to give the Bucks a 2-point lead, 102-100 at that time, with like 30 seconds left to play or something like that in the fourth quarter. You have Simons come down, hit a layup through contact after blowing by AJ Green. Bobby Portis tries to put up some rim defense there. Not enough. Foul, hits the and one. Now the Bucks are down 103-102 with like 23 seconds left in the game. The Bucks entrust the ball into the hands of Damian Lillard. Not a bad decision going to Dame. We have talked about Dame in the clutch and why you trust him in those situations. But in this game here, you saw him get the ISO and he kicks to the corner thinking Bobby's still going to be there. Bobby's expecting for Dame to shoot. So Bobby is crashing out the corner to try to get the offensive board in case Dame misses it. Big miscommunication for the Bucks. Turnover. They end up losing the game by 2, by 3, as I just said, 3 points. Dame had a chance to tie it up at the end there, but didn't make the 3. Thought he got fouled possibly, but still, you come up short in this game. And it was a lot of the same old in this game. Lack of execution for this team. Too many times where you're seeing defensively, guys are letting shooters just shoot open shots. The rotations ain't rotating the way that they need to be. They're giving guys good looks, letting guys get into rhythm. And then once they get into that rhythm and once they get that confidence, they're feeling really good about themselves and they're going. Also, again, a little bit too much dribble penetration for the Bucks allowed in some of these losses that we've seen over the last few. And offensively, just poor ball movement. Not enough guys getting touches, shots going up too quick, just a little bit too much. And you can look at this and say, like, why does this keep happening against these teams? Like, these are bad teams. One thing that I have mentioned, I heard Dame mention in his presser, so I do want to play that clip. But I've mentioned, like, hey, these front offices are going to do what they can to stack the deck in a way to get the outcome of the season that they're most looking for, right? So again, a Blazers team, you expect them to be in the lottery, trying to get a high draft pick. But the players on the court, they're here to hoop. They're here to win. They're here to try to eat. Like, even if their future isn't going to be with the Blazers after this year, they know other teams are watching. So, like, it's not all lost from the players. If they get confidence, they're going to be ready to hoop. So Dame was asked about this as well after the game. Like, why do they keep losing to these teams? So take a listen to this.
Anything you can point to why it keeps happening?
I'm not sure. I think the things that I just mentioned, just coming in and being a more disciplined team. Obviously, we're the team that should win games like this, and that's with respect to the teams that have beat us. But we should be winning these games, especially on our home floor. And I think it's just sustaining our focus and that discipline. If we do those things, I think we win the games. Last game we were down 20 with 8 minutes left or something, and we end up with a chance to win the game. So if we can have a stretch like that, that means if we can just be 80% of what we were in that last 8 minutes, we should be winning these games. But, we have, like I said, lapses. And then tonight, we had a lead in the first half. We kind of had control of the game. And then in the third, they jump out and have like a 9 or 10 point lead. And now we got to fight. But you get in a dogfight now, they believe, they having their way in moments. And you end up in a game like this. So I think that's just kind of been a pattern that we've had in these games. It's just, not good enough discipline and not good enough sustaining our focus.
Got to be better. They got to be better. And Doc Rivers was asked about this post game as well. And he mentioned, like, yo, I've been talking. You know what? I already said I'm not going to continue to use my voice if I don't have to, because it's a solo pod. Y'all probably want to hear something a little different. So I'm going to let Doc Rivers tell y'all how he was feeling about the messaging and just trying to get through to this team about what he's expecting of them to do on the court night in and night out.
You guys have a slow start in the second half. It's the same problems that have occurred. And throughout this, you've kind of said, like, hey, these are grown men. They don't need to hear a whole lot from me. They know what happened. Is there any thoughts in changing the message? Like, as you're thinking through this as a coach to get you...
I'm fine with. I think you guys think we don't say anything or something. What you think, we're watching film and just it's quiet time? No, I'm being serious. Like, do you think we're not saying stuff? Like, we say stuff every day. What's not happening is we're getting off the bad starts. We're not moving the ball. We're not playing right. We got to play right. We've done that. We got to get back to doing it.
Got to get back to doing it. And a lot of it, I think, starts with the top guys on this team needing a little bit more from Dame, needing a little bit more from Giannis, especially over this last stretch, because we've seen this Bucks team clicking. And when they are clicking, those two guys tend to be at the head of it. In addition to that, you have Khris Middleton, who's getting reintegrated into the lineup. So, going to dive a bit deeper into what we need to see more from Dame and from Giannis and what we have been seeing from them over this stretch and why that just hasn't been good enough for this Milwaukee Bucks team. So, we'll get into that right after this. Basketball season is heating up, and there is no better way to get some real money action while watching your favorite NBA stars than with Prize Picks. So, whether you're a diehard fan or you just love some friendly comp, Prize Picks makes it really fun and really easy to turn your basketball knowledge into hard earned cash. So, here's how it works. You pick more or less than on at least two players for a shot to win up to 1,000 times your cash. Up to 1,000 times your cash. So, like, do you think LeBron's going to drop 30 points? Do you think Dame's going to attempt at least 10 threes? Prize Picks lets you make your predictions and put your money where your mouth is in just 60 seconds. I've been using Prize Picks all season, and I got to tell you, I love it, especially the flex play option, so that even if one of my picks doesn't hit, which happens more often than I want to admit, I can still double my money. Plus, once I hit, I get my money fast, sometimes as quick as 15 minutes. And it's honestly one of the best ways to keep the game exciting, knowing that if I win, I'm going to get my money quickly. And now's the perfect time to join. So download the app today. Use your code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. That's right. There's no need to win to get that bonus. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks, run your game. Giannis and Dame. Head to the snake here. Throw Khris in there as well. Big three. We've talked about it all off season. We've talked about it since Dame was acquired on this team. Bucks big three, the Bucks big three. And we've acknowledged that this Bucks team is a top heavy team, right? So you're going to count a lot on Giannis and a lot on Dame to continue to be who they are to help drive this team. And since this illness that has come through the Bucks, what I had, I don't know if it's the same thing as what they had, but like it's been bad. Everybody's seeming to get sick right now. And as an athlete getting sick, the conditioning, it can be hard to get back to that. We heard Dame mention how tough that illness was on his body. And Giannis was asked about this as well after the game. So let's hear from Giannis about what has it been like since coming back from that illness and what he's trying to get back to.
You guys have been able to find those moments of competing, those stretches of competing, typically in the second half in these last few games. Yes. Slow starts in the third quarter, slow starts at the start of games. Is there a way to find it earlier? I don't know if that makes any sense. Like, you clearly can find it even within games when you don't have it to start. As you feel that slow start going, is there a way that you can help your team find a way out of it?
I gotta be more aggressive. I gotta get back in the rhythm. I'm not in the rhythm right now. Miss a lot of layups. I feel like the illness took a toll on me, and slowly I'm getting back, and I've been back to it. Like it was the first time I was out. Not for the duration of the 9 days, because I wasn't for 9 days sick, but like those 4 or 5 days that I was, it took a lot out of my body. And think about it like think about it like a savings account, and now I'm in the minus. So I gotta keep on building. Like I gotta build my body, gotta get some weights, gotta get some food in me, gotta get some cardio in me, to go back to the positives, to be able to go and compete, because I'm digging myself into the hole right now. So yeah, I got to be more aggressive. I think I can help the team more, and not just facilitate, just get guys in open looks more and defend harder. So I can definitely help the team, get a better start to the game.
That's real. That's real. It's going to take a little bit to get that conditioning back to where it needs to be. Saw that in the Pacers game with Giannis when he made his return. Just didn't look like himself. And against the Blazers here, Giannis mentioned in his presser, like, yo, I missed too many layups, like things that you're normally used to seeing him make. By the count, I saw 9 missed layups for Giannis in the game against the Blazers. He shot 14 of 27 from the field, which was one of his worst shooting nights of the season. Only had 2 assists in the game, which again, it goes just to say how amazing the season that Giannis has been having, where when he shoots, 51, 52% from the field, and it's like a season low, just hasn't looked like himself so far. Like he's averaging about 29 points per game since coming back from that illness, and he's shooting only 52% from the field. And at the rim, where he has made throughout the first few games before this injury, so the first 24, he was shooting nearly 74% at the rim. Since returning from the illness, Giannis is shooting just 57% over the last 3 games. That has to be better, right? Damian Lillard, we've talked about the shooting struggles. The last show that me and Justin did, we talked about the struggles that he's been having. And against the Blazers, he was 5 of 15. One of his worst shooting nights of the year as well. 16, like it just hasn't looked good for him. And for Dame, since he's returned to the lineup, he returned a game before Giannis did in Chicago. He's averaged about 19 points a game. He's been shooting 32%. So it just hasn't been clicking for him the way that it has. And the Bucks offense has been struggling in large parts due to that. And it's just more than just them getting their shots and being efficient with that. Of course, I mentioned it earlier. They have to also make sure that they're moving the ball, using their gravity to get other guys looks. We hear so much about how the ball has energy. The ball has energy. You want to make sure that you're doing what you can to make sure that everyone's feeling involved and active in the game. And you just haven't seen that. Too many quick shots. And part of that could be just because you have these 2 amazing guys who are trying to get back into rhythm, right? I think for Khris Middleton, that third part of the big 3, and if you're an everydayer, you know how I feel about Khris Middleton. K-Mid is my boy, right? My favorite Bucks player. And when Dame and Giannis were both out, Khris was reinserted into the starting lineup for the team. We saw him play the second night of back-to-back. You were seeing some positive momentum happening with Khris Middleton. And without Dame and Giannis in that lineup, when he returned to the starting lineup, he was averaging 20 points. He was shooting like 57% from the field. And he was shooting like 58% from 3. Like he was looking good in that very small sample size of starting when Dame and Giannis weren't on the court with him. And I had mentioned I thought that it was good for Khris to be able to get those reps in without Dame and Giannis on the court, because he would have more free reign to get his shots up, get his legs back underneath them, continue getting into game shape. But over these last 3 games together with Dame, with Giannis, and with Khris, he's been shooting like 48% from the floor. And he's been shooting about 38, 39% from 3. Just hasn't looked exactly the same, but again, a small sample size. And I was saying when Khris came back, there was going to be some learning, some growing pains. Might look a little clunky reintegrating him into the lineup. Doc Rivers was asked about how inserting Khris back into the lineup might have caused some continuity issues and just kind of change the chemistry. So here's Doc Rivers on getting Khris Middleton back into that starting lineup and what it's looked like so far for the Bucks.
Is there, at least offensively, for as much as you all have needed and wanted Khris to play minutes, is there some growing pain element of the 3 of them and the other 2 guys?
No doubt that's has had an impact. We were bringing Khris off the bench during that stretch. We were rolling because we were still working him in. Literally, we have to look at all that for sure.
Gotta look at it. You have to. And I was somebody who was staunch of like, no, you must start Khris Middleton. You need Dame and Giannis and Khris to get their minutes together. You need for them to continue to develop them reps. And I still feel like you need them to continue to get those minutes together. But does it look like maybe the Bucks could be better off with Khris coming off the bench? If things continue the way that they are going, I don't think that it is unreasonable to ponder the question if it makes more sense for this team to bring him off the bench. So it's just something that they're going to have to keep working with and keep getting those reps together and keep trying to tinker and figure out rotations. We saw the Bucks during that 2-8 stretch to open the season. One of the benefits that came from that was seeing that, they leaned more on those young guys. You saw Andre Jackson Jr. getting back into the lineup. You saw AJ Green getting into that lineup, getting those rotational minutes. And sometimes through the trial and error of the season, you see what works, you see what doesn't. So for Khris, maybe that is something that has to be discussed. Maybe. Maybe I'll concede a maybe on that at this point in the season, but the three of them have to figure that out. They have to get better. And I do think that there is something to just Giannis and Dame in particular continue to get the rhythm back after being sick and putting that effort in and the execution that they need to do in order to be the team that we saw earlier in the season, not at the beginning of the season, but after that 2-8 start when you saw them playing some better ball. So now the question is, can this Bucks team regroup and play consistent ball? Can they execute at a high level more consistently throughout the game? What do they need to do to get back to what we were seeing when they were heading into that NBA Cup and really starting to roll? Going to take a look at what that might look like for this Bucks team after this. FanDuel, it is the NFL playoffs. It is that time, y'all. So from the big upsets to the game-winning drives, the NFL playoffs are better with FanDuel because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. So that's $200 in bonus bets, whether you win or you lose. Again, $200 in bonus bets, whether you win or you lose. The FanDuel app gives you everything that you need for live bets, same-game parlays, and so much more. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today and get started, again, with that $200 in bonus bets. So head over to FanDuel.com. That's FanDuel, FanDuel.com. Make this playoff season unforgettable with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. How do the Bucks get better? Do they have what it takes to bounce back from this funky part of the schedule where we're seeing them lose games to teams that we believe that they should be winning, games that the Bucks believe that they should be winning, as they should? We've seen this Bucks team already in this short season bounce back after that 2-8 start. We've seen them put it together. We saw them hold the Thunder to 80-something points. It was 81 points in the NBA Cup game. Even though that doesn't count for a regular season, we saw it. It happened. We know what the Bucks can do when they're really clicking. And even in that game, Dame's shot wasn't falling, but the Bucks were able as a whole, as a team, to get it together. If you look back to how they started the season during that first 10-game stretch when they went 2-8, we saw a 12th ranked offense and a 26th ranked defense. They responded over their next 10 games where they won 9 of those next 10. And they were the 5th ranked offense during that time and the 9th ranked defense. And then they started thinking like, hey, could the Bucks really be a top 10 offense and a top 10 defense? Because coming into the season, top 10 offense kind of expected that from this group, given the fact that they have Giannis and they have Dame, they have Khris as the third option. You got Brooke, you got Bobby, you got Gary Trent Jr. You've got some guys who should be able to put the ball in the hoop. But seeing that the Bucks were able to be a 9th ranked defense during that time was surprising. Of like, man, maybe this defensive ceiling for this team is higher than what I initially thought. I was just hoping coming into the season they could be league average. And then they started playing like a top 10 unit. And it was like, can they sustain that? Giannis was asked, how can they get back to playing how they were prior to Vegas? And I want y'all to check out what he had to say.
I know as you said, you've done it just a few weeks ago. So you've done it before. How do you kind of recapture that and kind of bring that back, knowing that you won 8 of 10? At that point, and beat a team like Oklahoma City? Is it just going back to film? Is it practice time? Is it how do you kind of get it back?
You just gotta decide as a team to get it back. At times we play good basketball, and at times we don't. There's a lot of times that we step on the court and we feel like we can beat any team in the league, but there's times that we step on the court and any team in the league can beat us, which is incredible. But we can watch film, we can talk about it, we can walk through stuff, which all those things are good, add to us being ready to compete. But at the end of the day, we just got to step on the floor and do it. I feel like that's what we did a couple of weeks ago. We stepped on the floor and we were tired with just losing, and we just going to try to turn that around, and we did. And it's one of those cases right now. I don't know where we are in the standing, 6th, 7th. I don't know where we are, but we gotta turn it around right now. Before it's January, right? It's January, January, February. 4 to 6 weeks before the All-Star break. This is where you try to rack up some wins, try to get going and run, and try to get a momentum. And hopefully we can do it.
Hopefully they can, because the level that they're playing at since Vegas hasn't been good enough. I've been focusing more so on this last, 5-game stretch, because they've dropped 4 of their last 5. But if you broaden that out, since Vegas, since winning the NBA Cup, the Bucks are 3-5. They have the 24th ranked offense and the 6th ranked defense. Surprise, surprise. The defense is still in that top 10 area, but the offense just has not been good enough. And a lot of times too, it comes down to, the offense and the defense being connected, and they just have to do a better job of moving that ball around, making sure that guys are active. Again, getting off to faster starts, sustaining focus throughout a game. Is it too much to ask to see a full 48 of sustained effort? Maybe, but at least give me 40, 45, at least let it get to the 4th quarter, and you're not in a situation where you have to come back in order to have a chance to even win the game. Dame was asked about this after the game as well. What do they need to be doing better to get back to how they've been playing? So check out what Dame had to say about that.
Another game for you guys where you're playing a lottery team and just not coming out kind of with maybe the effort or focus you want. Just would you see that maybe this continues to be a lingering problem for you guys?
I think it's just being able to sustain our focus, like you said, we're playing against teams that are probably going to be in the lottery. And I think the issue with a lot of these games are these teams, they have nothing to lose. They're young, they're full of energy, they play hard. They're well coached, you can hear from the sideline the coach is just pushing them, just on them about what they need to be doing, because, they trying to build habits, if anything. So it's never an easy game, but it's a game where if you focus and you sustain it and you're disciplined, you should be able to get out of these games with a win. And I think we just this game or last game, we've had maybe 4 games in the last 2 weeks where, we have lapses. We don't sustain that focus and that discipline. And when it's like that, teams that's playing hard, teams playing with energy, and every NBA team has talent. You can put yourself in a dogfight like we were in again tonight, and at that point anything can happen, and we, put ourselves in that position, and, another loss, another tough one.
Another tough one. There have been people arguing there's an NBA Cup hangover, and that's quite possible. I was here for the Bucks going after the NBA Cup because of how they started the season. Starting the season off so poorly, being able to come around, a common goal of we want to win this thing, I thought was going to be really good for the team. I still think it was good for them to be able to hit that level. But the question is, how do you continue to sustain that level of play throughout the regular season? AJ Green was also interviewed after the game. He had himself a great game, tied his career high, and made 3-point shots with 7 in this game against the Blazers. And he was asked after the game as well, just hey, what do the Bucks need to do going forward to be the team that coming into the season they thought they could be as a contending team? So check out what AJ Green had to say.
You guys have had some ups and downs throughout this season. I guess how do you attempt to try to capture the good energy, the good vibes that you guys kind of had around Vegas?
I think it's just getting back to our focus, our discipline, and building good habits and being intentional with that. Every game, I think going into Vegas, it's, there's excitement. We got something to play for, something to win. But we should have that every night. It's a goal to win each game. So I think just getting back to that and being disciplined and coming together through the ups and downs.
AJ Green saying that they had something to play for and they came together around that. And adding, I don't think that should be the way we continue to move forward. We should come with that same energy game in and game out during the regular season. I could not agree with more. We hear Giannis say it often, get better every day. We've heard this team mention it consistently, get better every day. And that's what they have to do. They have to find that joy in the grind, right? They have to find a way to come out on the other side of this with games where they can look back at their effort and their execution and feel good about what they put on tape, what they're going to see on film the next day. There's room for improvement for this team, but I think because we've seen this team be able to achieve that, there are reasons for optimism, I'm thinking, as to why they can get back to it. Now, the question is, can they sustain it? That we're going to have to continue to watch the games and see. They're going to have to put more on tape, more on film, rack up some more wins, especially against these teams that you expect for them to beat. For us, for fans, for I guess even the players on the team to really get that confidence of who they are. Like Giannis said, they can walk on the court and they feel like they can beat anybody. But the flip side to that is that they could also lose to anybody. And that can't be the case for a team really trying to contend for a championship. My voice is starting to tell me I've been talking enough. Love to know what you guys think about the format here, using some clips from the pressers on the solo pod. If you guys enjoy that, if so, any other solo pods going forward, I will definitely try to incorporate that. So let me know what you think about that. But up next for the Bucks, Monday night in Toronto against the 8-win Toronto Raptors. Again, the 8-win Raptors. So hopefully all that we've been discussing, all that I've been discussing, y'all have been listening. I feel like we've been having a conversation, but everything that's being discussed, the hope is for them to really start to make that turnaround beginning Monday in Toronto, because after that Toronto Raptors game, Spurs at Magic, at Knicks, Kings, Magic, it's going to get a little bit tougher, especially when you look at the defenses that they're going to be facing. And the offense has been a problem for this Bucks team. So make sure I keep it locked into Locked On Bucks. There will be a post-game pod after that Raptors game, hopefully after a Bucks win. We're going to see. But Locked On Bucks will have you covered regardless. Wishing you all the best going forward. Have a good one.